The Holocaust. Time: 1941-1945. Perpetrators: Nazi Germany and its collaborators, led by Adolf Hitler. Victims: approximately 6 million European Jews were murdered, alongside millions of others including Romani people, Poles, disabled persons, homosexuals, and Jehovah's Witnesses. Methods: the Nazis' final solution involved mass shootings by Einsatzgruppen, mobile killing squads, and systematic extermination in purpose-built death camps like Auschwitz, Belzec, and Treblinka, using gas chambers. Jews were also confined to ghettos and forced labor camps, where many died from disease, starvation, and inhumane conditions. Context: radical anti-Semitism was a core tenet of Nazi ideology which viewed Jews as an inferior race. This prejudice was leveraged to consolidate power and create a racially pure German society. Cambodian Genocide. Time: 1975-1979. Perpetrators: the Khmer Rouge regime, led by Pol Pot. Victims: between 1.2 and 2.8 million Cambodians died, almost a quarter of the country's population. Targets included intellectuals, identified sometimes just by wearing glasses, ethnic minorities such as the Cham Muslim and Vietnamese communities, business people, and former government officials. Methods: after seizing power, the Khmer Rouge forced urban dwellers to march into the countryside for agrarian slave labor. Victims were executed, starved, or died from overwork and disease in forced labor camps. A notorious detention center, Security Prison 21, S21, saw only a handful of survivors from more than 20,000 prisoners. Context: the genocide was an extremist effort to establish a classless agrarian communist society based on Maoist principles. This led to the targeting of anyone perceived as an obstacle to this radical social re-engineering. Rwandan Genocide. Time: 1994, over approximately 100 days. Perpetrators: Hutu militias, primarily the Interahamwe, orchestrated by Hutu extremist leaders. Victims: an estimated 500,000 to 800,000 members of the Tutsi minority, as well as thousands of moderate Hutu and TWA people. Methods: following the assassination of President Habyarimana, Hutu extremists rapidly began systematically identifying and killing Tutsi people. This was carried out with chilling efficiency at roadblocks, churches, and homes using rudimentary weapons like machetes. Hate propaganda on radio stations played a key role in inciting the violence. Context: long-simmering ethnic tensions between the Hutu majority and Tutsi minority were exploited and exacerbated by Hutu power ideology, framing Tutsi as an existential enemy. The genocide unfolded during an ongoing civil war. Armenian Genocide. Time: 1915-1917. Perpetrators: the Ruling Committee of Union and Progress, CUP, of the Ottoman Empire. Victims: between 600,000 and 1.5 million Ottoman Armenians were killed, mostly through mass murder and death marches. Methods: the genocide involved the arrest and execution of Armenian intellectuals, forced death marches of civilians through the Syrian desert, systematic starvation, and forced Islamization. Many women and children were abducted and forcibly converted or sold. Context: occurring during World War I, the genocide was rooted in ethnic and religious prejudices combined with rising Turkish nationalism. The Ottoman government exploited the war to act against a population it viewed as a potential fifth column. Bosnian Genocide. Time: 1992-1995. Perpetrators: Bosnian Serb forces, led by figures like Radovan Karadzic and Ratko Mladic. Victims: primarily Bosnian Muslim civilians, but also Bosnian Croats and other non-Serbs. In Srebrenica alone, more than 8,000 Bosniak men and boys were executed. Methods: acts of ethnic cleansing included mass murder, torture, mass rapes, forced deportations, and the establishment of concentration camps. The Srebrenica massacre is the most widely documented single event. Context: fueled by extreme ethno-nationalism and the dissolution of Yugoslavia, Bosnian Serb leaders aimed to establish a greater Serbia by forcibly removing non-Serb populations. Darfur Genocide. Time: 2003-2005, peak violence, with ongoing atrocities. Perpetrators: the Sudanese government, led by Omar al-Bashir and the allied Janjaweed militias. Victims: primarily non-Arab Darfuri ethnic groups including the Fur, Masalit, and Zaghawa. Methods: government forces and Janjaweed militias conducted a brutal campaign of mass killings, widespread rape as a weapon of war, destruction of villages, and displacement of millions. Context: conflict arose from long-standing ethnic tensions over scarce resources and the central government's marginalization of the region. A rebellion by non-Arab groups triggered a government-backed counterinsurgency campaign that spiraled into genocide. Israeli-Palestinian conflict since 2023. Current situation. The conflict is a subject of ongoing investigation and heated debate regarding the legal classification of genocide. Allegations of genocide. Perpetrators, the Israeli military and government are accused of committing acts of genocide. Victims, Palestinians in Gaza. Alleged methods. Human rights experts have identified mass killings, starvation through blockade, deliberate destruction of civilian infrastructure including hospitals, schools, and cultural sites, forced displacement, and measures to prevent births. Evidence cited for intent. Proponents of the genocide charge point to inflammatory and dehumanizing statements made by Israeli officials, the high civilian death toll, and the pattern of destruction to mosques, churches, and hospitals. Israel targeted journalists and healthcare workers. Israeli position. Israel rejects accusations of genocide, stating its actions are self-defense against Hamas. Legal threshold. Proving genocidal intent is the highest legal barrier for a genocide charge. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, is currently investigating the matter. Military justification. Israel asserts that civilian deaths are a tragic byproduct of targeting Hamas infrastructure, which is often embedded in civilian areas. Humanitarian crisis. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is severe. The territory has experienced massive death and injury, widespread displacement, and famine conditions.